Let's start this video out the right way. I'm going to show you the problem in real time. On the screen, I have the signal flow that I'm setting up, where I have my MIDI sequencer going to a MIDI track, feeding sample 1, and then I'm recording the output of sample 1 to an audio track. Once I hit play from the sequencer, you're going to hear what Studio One outputs. You can pretty clearly hear the stuttering, and I'm going to explain why I think this is later, but it definitely happens. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use live without cutting over, and you can hear what live sounds like. The distance between each hit is perfectly even. There's no jitter at all. And this is using the exact same setup with the exact same drivers, same sequencer. Everything's the same between these two programs. So let's talk about this more. When doing these kind of tests, there's all sorts of things that can go wrong and complications. Below the video, in the description, there's a link to admiralb.com where I discuss a variety of these and how I'm dealing with them with these tests. Like, what if it's the sequencer that's jittering? Well, we just tested that by using Studio One and Ableton Live side by side, and we can hear an audible difference. And we can also see the difference, but I'll show you in just a minute. So head to admiralb.com to get more info about the actual tests and the technical details, and let's just make this video pretty quick. I took the recorded output of Studio One and aligned the first beat of the audio with the first beat of the grid. We can see that the beat is triggered late, very late, and sometimes early, but we can dive a level deeper. If I change the audio buffer size in Studio One, the amount of live playback jitter completely changes. You can see there's much less jitter in the 128, more in the 512, and a lot more in the 2048. Pause the video and look if you want, or go to my website and you can pull up the image full resolution. But there's a step further still. I have the recorded MIDI, the live recorded audio, and then the audio recorded when I hit play after recording. They are not the same. The audio that you hear during live monitoring of an instrument triggered by MIDI is different than the audio you hear on playback of that exact same recorded part. What do I think is causing this? Let's assume that we have some MIDI where each note starts on the downbeat of each measure. But our DAW sends information to instruments in buffers, not per sample. If the DAW sends information once per buffer only, then what we end up with jitter, because the buffers don't necessarily align with our note starts and ends. The correct way to do this is to send the MIDI data to the plugin with an offset, shown in yellow, so that the plugin knows when to play the note relative to the time that it received the note.
Never trust a YouTuber when you could just do it yourself.
There's some things to keep in mind here. This does not affect the recorded MIDI, not this thing necessarily. It doesn't affect playback, or at least not what we're testing right now. It has nothing to do with drift, because drift is a constant change, not each note having a different thing. MIDI clock, MTC, that's not involved. And most importantly, we can reproduce this exact same test with other DAWs, and they perform perfectly. Speaking of other DAWs, why am I picking on Studio One? Well, Studio One 5 just came out. They've known about this issue for a long time. There's an article linked below from about 8 years ago that shows this issue, which, by the way, I'm not the first one to do this. This is a long-standing thing. And they haven't fixed it. They released a major version with this long-standing bug, and so I'm going to pick on them first. There are other DAWs that have this problem, and I'll be covering this in the next video. admiralb.com, check out the text article that has more information and bigger pictures. Patreon.com/admiralb, where you can support me because these videos take a lot of time and it helps me know the kind of things that you like. And yeah, don't be a fanboy. This thing's broken.